Garrett Bush didn't mince words when he lit into Brown's front office, but what really stood out was why he believes they're sidelining Shedeur Sanders. It's not about readiness or development. Bush says it's about control. The Browns, according to his sharp critique, have built a culture where protecting egos comes before promoting talent. Sanders, who has proven himself capable in both poise and performance, threatens that status quo. And instead of leveraging his strengths, Cleveland seems hell-bent on preserving a false narrative that he's not quite ready. The disconnect between what's being said and what's playing out behind closed doors has fans and insiders asking the same thing. What are the Browns so afraid of?
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
The Browns had countless chances to reset their trajectory, and Shedeur Sanders represents their latest and possibly best shot at doing so. But instead of empowering him, the franchise is dragging its feet, wrapped up in internal politics and spin. This isn't just a missed opportunity. It's a revealing case study in how dysfunction and insecurity can actively suppress progress. The problem isn't talent, it's trust. The Cleveland Browns are at it again, and this time they've dragged Shedeur Sanders into their never-ending circus of dysfunction. If you thought this franchise couldn't outdo its own chaos, wait till you see how they've managed to take a talented, NFL-ready quarterback and bury him under layers of narrative spin, politics, and ego management. We're talking about a team so tangled in its own fear of change, it's practically allergic to progress. And the latest victim? A QB with the accuracy, maturity, and leadership that could genuinely shift the franchise's trajectory. But instead of letting him cook, the Browns are hiding the stove. 2. This isn't just a questionable personnel decision. It's a full-blown campaign of misdirection. From the moment Sanders was brought in, the organization's messaging has been inconsistent, contradictory, and borderline manipulative. 1 minute, he's a promising talent with elite traits. The next, he's not ready for the big stage. And behind all the cryptic updates and PR fluff lies a very clear pattern. Cleveland's front office doesn't trust what they have, and they certainly don't want to be proven wrong. Garrett Bush said the quiet part out loud, accusing the Browns of treating Shedeur not as a potential franchise quarterback, but as a placeholder, a distraction, someone to throw in when it's convenient, but not when it matters. That's not development. That's damage control. And fans are noticing. It's becoming harder and harder to believe the Browns are operating in good faith when every move around Sanders feels so calculated. He's shown the work ethic. He's shown the arm. He's shown poise under pressure. So why the hesitation? Why all the delay tactics? Well, let's not act like this is new behavior. This is the Cleveland Browns, a franchise that's made chaos its brand. This is the same organization that's been notorious for poor decision-making, a revolving door of quarterbacks, and a deep-seated fear of any change that might actually lead to success. In Shedeur's case, the pattern is clear. They'd rather suppress his talent than disrupt the status quo. Mary Kay Kitt, one of the most respected insiders covering the Browns, isn't buying either. She's highlighted Sanders' accuracy, maturity, and clear readiness to lead. That's not fan hype. That's someone with real access, calling it like it is. But when the media sees one thing and a franchise continues pushing another story, you have to ask, who's writing the script in Cleveland? And who benefits from keeping Shedeur on the sidelines? Segment, MG speaking. Even inside the locker room, the support is there. Veterans like Myles Garrett reportedly back Sanders. And let's be honest, when your core players are looking at the guy and seeing a spark, that means something. It means they're tired of the facade. They're tired of watching a capable quarterback held back by management indecision and internal turf wars. That's the real story here. Not whether Sanders is good enough, but whether the Browns are capable of stepping aside and letting talent lead. And right now the answer is no. The more you dig into it, the more it looks like ego is running the show. Because acknowledging Shedeur's potential would mean admitting past mistakes. It would mean reevaluating the choices that led them here. And for a team so concerned with image, admitting fault is the ultimate taboo. What's worse? The fans see through it. Analysts see through it. And every week that Sanders sits while less capable options struggle, the pressure builds. The Browns can't spin this forever. People are asking the real questions. Why are they so afraid of putting Shedeur in? What are they trying to protect? And more importantly, who? The organization's trust deficit is no longer a theory. It's a defining issue. The Browns don't trust their players, their coaches, or even their own instincts. They operate like a franchise in constant fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of change. Fear of losing control over the narrative. And that narrative control? It's turned into a full-blown strategy. Control the perception, and maybe people won't notice what's happening on the field. But when insiders like Mary Kay Kitt and vocal critics like Garrett Bush are lining up to call out, it becomes impossible to ignore. The franchise is prioritizing ego preservation over player development, and it's costing them. Every week they stall, every excuse they make is another missed opportunity to build around a quarterback who's shown nothing but readiness and professionalism. That's not just mismanagement. That's sabotage. It's no wonder media frustration is reaching a boiling point. Fans are tired of the gaslighting, tired of being told to trust a process that leads nowhere, tired of watching this team act like it's protecting Sanders when it's really just protecting itself. And let's not forget the implications if they continue down this road. If the Browns lose Shedeur, if they stall so long that he walks or demands out, it will be yet another addition to their graveyard of what could have beens, because they didn't just fumble a player. They fumbled the opportunity to evolve. It's not like they haven't done it before. The Browns have a long history of squandering young talent, only to realize their value after the damage is done. Quarterbacks, coaches, coordinators. Over and over again, the pattern repeats. Talent comes in. Politics takes over. The story ends in regret. The Sanders situation is shaping up to be just another chapter in that legacy, unless something changes fast. And honestly, the only thing that might force their hand is public pressure. The media knows it. The players know it. And the fans are growing louder every week. Because at a certain point, you can't keep hiding a spark when everything else around you is burning down. This could have been a turning point. Still could be. Sanders isn't the problem. He's the opportunity. But opportunities don't last forever. And if the Browns can't figure out how to stop playing scared, they're going to lose more than just a quarterback. They're going to lose the locker room, the fan base, the future. Trust is a foundation of any successful team. And right now, the Browns are building a house on quicksand. Every time they lie to the media, delay the obvious, and hide behind half-truths, they sink deeper. And Shedeur Sanders? He's just waiting to be given the keys to a car that's stuck in neutral. If Cleveland wants to stop being the punchline and start being a contender, it has to start with truth, transparency, real leadership, the kind that recognizes talent and isn't afraid to act on it. Because if they keep suppressing the one player who could actually change their trajectory, they're not just risking the season, they're risking everything. You got fans, analysts, and veterans all pointing to the same thing. This kid can play. And yet, the Browns are out here pretending like he's some long-term project that needs to be developed. Developed into what? He's already ahead of the curve. What's holding him back isn't ability. It's insecurity. It's ego. It's fear of being proven wrong. And if that doesn't change soon, the Browns are going to learn, again, that talent won't wait forever. Because someone else will give Shedeur the shot he deserves. Someone else will see what Cleveland refuses to. So what's it going to be? Another missed opportunity? Another chapter in a never-ending saga of dysfunction? Or the moment they finally stop lying to themselves and let a real leader take the field? You tell me. If you're as frustrated by this as we are, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. Because trust us, this saga is far from over. And you're going to want to be here when the next chapter drops. 3. Let's not pretend this is just about one player. The Shedeur Sanders situation is bigger than just one depth chart decision. This is about a franchise locked in a psychological war with its own future. And right now, the Browns are losing that war badly. You got a quarterback who checks all the boxes. Talent? Undeniable. Work ethic? Proven. Leadership? Ask the guys in the locker room. He's not raw. He's not immature. He's not lacking experience. This isn't some fluke prospect. They brought in someone who could command a huddle, read a defense, and throw with pinpoint accuracy. And what does Cleveland do with that? They stick him behind a fog machine of vague quotes and media tap dancing. Let's be very clear here. When a team wants to stall, they hide behind the word development. It's their favorite excuse. It's vague enough to justify anything and soft enough to avoid blowback. But that word is losing its meaning, especially in Cleveland hands. Because development doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like stonewalling a talented QB while weaker options flounder. It doesn't look like dodging media questions or pivoting blame to coaches. And it definitely doesn't look like letting internal politics override obvious football decisions. That's what makes it so infuriating. Not just that they're wasting talent, but that they're insulting everyone's intelligence while doing it. They think if they keep changing the story, we'll stop asking the hard questions. But the inconsistencies are glaring. They praise Shedeur's preparation, then claim he's not ready. They acknowledge his arm talent, then say the timing isn't right. And all the while, fans are watching games wondering why the offense looks like it's running through molasses when there's a quarterback with real firepower holding a clipboard on the sideline. Let's talk about the timing excuse, because that one's getting old. If not now, when? What magical alignment of stars are they waiting for? The current offense is underperforming. The fan base is restless, and the defense is doing everything it can to keep this team in games. But the spark, the edge, it's missing, and everyone with a pulse knows it. This is the moment where bold teams make bold moves. This is where you shake off the fear and commit to change. But the Browns, they might expose the flaws in their previous decisions. They're scared of what it might say about past choices, draft picks, trades, coaching hires. And so instead of owning the moment, they delay, they calculate, they spin. And Shedeur is stuck in that limbo, ready but restricted, good enough but sidelined. That doesn't just hurt him. That sends a message to the whole locker room. It tells players that effort and talent might not be enough here. That decisions aren't based on performance. They're based on power dynamics. When guys like Myles Garrett start voicing support, it's not just about football. That's leadership speaking truth to dysfunction. That a veteran looking around and saying, we have what we need. Why are we not using it? And if leadership in the locker room is on one page while the front office is on another, you're headed straight for a culture fracture. These things don't stay quiet. They fester. And if you think players aren't watching how Shedeur is being treated, you're fooling yourself. Every athlete on that roster is reading between the lines. They see the double standards. They hear the spin, and it erodes trust. You want to know why the Browns haven't broken to despite years of talent on paper? It's this, right here. This refusal to let football speak for itself. This insistence on micromanaging narratives instead of letting the best man win. It's organizational insecurity masquerading as strategy. And here's the irony. By trying so hard to control the narrative, the Browns are actually losing control. Because the louder they deny, the louder the critics become. Garrett Bush didn't just criticize the handling of Shedeur. He torched it. He called out the obvious, that this isn't about readiness. It's about reluctance. And fans are echoing that sentiment. There's no saving face anymore. The Browns either embrace the truth or become defined by their refusal to face it. The longer they hold back Sanders, the more obvious it becomes that their priorities are misaligned. This isn't about winning games. It's about preserving fragile egos and covering old mistakes. You can't build a winning culture on that. You can't develop a team around silence and spin. And you definitely can't expect a locker room to stay united when your most promising quarterback is being treated like a political liability instead of an asset. Let's be blunt. If Sanders were in almost any other organization right now, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. He'd be on the field, and he'd be thriving. But in Cleveland, he's been reduced to a symbol of everything this team fears: accountability, transparency, and change. And maybe that's why this feels so familiar, because the Browns have done this before. They've seen talent walk out the door. They watched players leave and suddenly flourish somewhere else. They've ignored signs, delayed action, and then blamed bad luck when things fell apart. But Shedeur Sanders is a second chance you want to miss. He's not the guy you hope figures it out down the line. He is the line. He's the benchmark. And the Browns are blowing it. Fans can see it. Analysts are calling it. Players are whispering it. And the Browns? They're still pretending everything's fine. They don't need more time. They don't need more excuses. They need courage. Because the truth is, they're not protecting Shedeur. They're protecting themselves from scrutiny, from criticism, from the consequences of past mistakes. That's not how you win in the NFL. That's how you stay stuck in a cycle of almost and what-ifs. At some point, you either trust your players or you don't. You either want to win or you want to control the narrative. You don't get to do both. And if Cleveland doesn't realize that soon, someone else will. Someone else will give Shedeur the keys. Someone else will watch him flourish. And the Browns will be left doing what they do best, wondering what went wrong while spinning another story to cover the truth. Here's the thing. When a franchise is this deep into denial, the damage isn't just limited to one player. The ripple effects are real. You lose more than just games. You lose credibility. You lose locker room trust. You lose the belief that things can ever really turn around. And right now, the Cleveland Browns are standing at the edge of that cliff, pretending like the ground underneath them isn't already cracking. This Shedeur Sanders situation isn't isolated. It's symptomatic of a franchise-wide illness, one where fear of being wrong outweighs the desire to get it right. How many times does this organization need to trip over its own potential before someone stands up and says, "Enough"? You don't bring in a quarterback like Shedeur if you're looking for a long-term science experiment. You bring in a quarterback like him when you're ready to stop playing scared. His poise? NFL level. His arm? Deadly accurate. His football IQ? Higher than most vets. But none of that matters if the people in charge are more concerned with defending old narratives than creating new success. And that's exactly what's happening. The Browns don't have a Shedeur Sanders problem. They have a leadership problem. Because real leadership doesn't hide talent. It doesn't slow play momentum. It doesn't cling to outdated plans just to avoid admitting a misstep. Real leadership sees potential and unleashes it. But instead of unleashing Shedeur, they're doing everything they can to muffle the conversation. Carefully worded pressers, vague updates, contradictory assessments from week to week. It's all smoke, and everyone watching knows it. What's really jarring is that this isn't even a tough decision anymore. If the guy has the tools, the maturity, the locker room backing, and the fan support, what's left to debate? Why is there still a committee of executives and coaches twisting themselves into knots trying to justify benching him? Because once again, it's not about football. It's about control. It's about optics. It's about holding on to a hierarchy that doesn't want to admit the rookie might be more ready than the veteran. That's not just a bad look. It's organizational malpractice. You'd think after decades of inconsistency, they'd be desperate for someone who would shift the narrative. But the Browns seem more interested in maintaining their comfort zone of chaos. And Shedeur threatens that. He's a walking reset button. A player who could force a realignment of power if he succeeds. And that terrifies the front office. They'd rather double down on mediocrity than risk exposing the cracks in their leadership structure. But what they don't realize is that by sidelining Sanders, they've already exposed those cracks. Fans aren't stupid. They see the hesitation for what it is. Fear, not caution, not strategy. Fear of being wrong, of being outshined, of change. And in a league built on merit, that fear is a death sentence. There's no room in the NFL for emotional decision-making disguised as player development, especially when development is being used as a euphemism for delaying the inevitable. And let's be clear, the inevitable is coming. Sanders isn't going to fade into the background. He's not going to quietly disappear. That spotlight is growing. Every press conference, every post-game rant, every analyst breaking down tape and wondering aloud, why isn't this guy starting? You can only run from that for so long. Eventually, the dam breaks. And when it does, you better hope your locker room still believes in you. Because if they don't, if they feel like you're wasting their window of opportunity out of pride or fear, that's when teams start to fracture. That's when veterans check out. That's when fans stop showing up. And let's not kid ourselves. That fracture has already started. Players like Myles Garrett throwing their support behind Shedeur isn't just a vote of confidence. It's a challenge. It's them saying, we see what's happening, and we're not buying the spin. And once your leaders start talking like that, the excuses don't hold up anymore. Mary Kay Kit has already laid it out. Shedeur's accuracy is elite. His maturity is visible. He's not just surviving in practice, he's thriving, which makes the front office's insistence on keeping him sidelined feel even more calculated. There's a gap between what the insiders are saying and what the team is doing. That's not miscommunication. That's deliberate deflection. And if the Browns think that disconnect won't catch up with them, they're kidding themselves. Because the longer they stall, the more frustrated everyone becomes. The players, the fans, the media. This isn't quiet discontent. It's growing every single week. And eventually, the noise becomes too loud to ignore. They're running out of time. Every rep Shedeur misses, every series that goes nowhere under a less capable QB, is a wasted opportunity. Not just to win, but to build something sustainable. Something exciting. Something that doesn't feel like deja vu from another wasted season. And honestly, Shedeur deserves better. He's handled this with professionalism. He hasn't lashed out publicly. He hasn't created drama. But don't mistake that for patience without limits. He knows what he's capable of. Everyone around him knows it too. And the minute the Browns become a barrier instead of platform, the door to leaving starts to crack open. Because let's be real, if they don't unleash him, someone else will. And that will haunt Cleveland. Another player they couldn't figure out how to use. Another missed opportunity packaged up and sent elsewhere to shine. While they sit back and wonder why they're still stuck. This franchise has a choice. They can keep manipulating narratives and delaying progress, or they can face the music and let talent lead for once. Shedeur Sanders is ready. The team knows it. The fans know it. The analysts know it. The only ones pretending otherwise are the ones too afraid to admit they've been wrong. So what's it going to be, Cleveland? Are you finally ready to stop lying to yourselves? Or will this just be another chapter in your long-running saga of self-sabotage? You tell me. If you're as frustrated by this as we are, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. Because trust us, this saga is far from over, and you're going to want to be here when the next chapter drops.